when you go into the research on the Kaaba stone, they claim it's a stone that fell from heaven. And they march around this Kaaba in Islam. But this is well before Islam, folks. They march around the Kaaba. When you do the history on this was to open up portal. This is to open up portals. So they march around it to use their energy like they once marched around the Tower of Babel. Using the energy of the people to open up realms. So if you disconnect them from their God that you worship, they can be used as what? A brain, a resource under one mind to accomplish Isaiah, the 14th chapter. In one mind to open up realms so that gods can ascend and descend into the earth in connection with the governments of this earth, folks. You have one here and you have another at the Vatican. Another at the Vatican. Because through religion, you can disconnect people from God to do what? To do the will of what? The God they serve. You separate them from our God, and now they are now assimilated into the government's Borg to be controlled like batteries. So, folks, you know what? I'm going to say it again. You know what a religious attack looks like? Immigration. It's reinforcements to bring forth that mind against God and God's people. Bringing those religions, those ancient religions into our communities. But I digress. That's another conversation in of itself. John 1:14, Elder Lawyer. Let's go to Christ now. I'm in the book of John, the 1st chapter and the 14th verse.
St. John chapter 1, verse number 14.
Come on.
And the Word was made flesh.
And the Word was what?
And the Word was made flesh.
The Word was made flesh. Read.
And dwelt among us.
And dwelt among us. Speaking of Christ.
And we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father.
And we beheld Christ's glory as the glory of the only begotten Father. So Christ would come into the earth to do what? To rebuild the temple. To establish the original belief before judgment on earth. So we see that the Most High gave us laws, statutes, commandments, and had a sanctuary amongst the Hebrews, which was what? A different belief system than the Gentiles. The Gentiles have a hive mind under Satan to fight God, to go against our God, and to destroy God's people. So the Most High, after Israel broke God's law, the moral codes, he had to send Christ to reestablish a way back to God's temple. See? Read that last piece again.
Yes, sir. St. John 1:14.
Come on.
And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us.
The Word was made flesh and dwelt amongst us. So now what we have here on earth through Christ is that mind from the beginning who created all walking amongst men. Creating a what? An invisible line between those who would serve the true temple. That's right. And those who would serve Satan in the pagan temples. Now, the Pharisees, scribes, and Amalek in particular, folks, wanted that temple that was constructed through Solomon. Because they needed that temple, Isaiah the 14th chapter, to allow them to do what they're doing at the Kaaba stone and others to get back up where the Most High was. There's a gate at that temple. How do you know this? Because in the Old Testament, the Most High would come down on the congregation there. So they wanted, this is why they started selling in the temple and trying to make the temple into what the Tower of Babel was. Because they was going to do it there. They're going to set up the monetary system, the religious system. They was going to do it all in our temple. But when Christ was crucified, that temple split in two. The only place they could have accomplished the Tower of Babel was that place that goes directly to the sides of the north where the Most High is. See? But Christ split the temple in two at his death. So they had to work all this time to attempt to build the construct again. Hence the reason, World War II, the Balfour Agreement, where, that's right, England, under the Balfour Agreement, along with America and the United Nations, would give what? A state, a government to reestablish Palestine. So that they can be there at the very end, at the Wailing Wall, with Christians, Muslims, and Satanists at the wall to build the temple again. See? Now, everything I'm saying, I'm quantifying it for the sake of this lesson, folks. But I'm breaking down what? The attack on God's brain. Christ was an extension of that brain that would connect us back with the Father. Let's go to John 2 and 19.
St. John chapter 2, verse number 19.
Here you go. Let's read it.
St. John 2, verse number 19.
Come on.
Yeshua answered and said unto them, destroy this temple.
See that? Christ said, destroy this temple. Right? Read.
And in 3 days I will raise it up.
And in 3 days I will raise it up. In 3 days I will raise it up. Now, of course, the governments at this time, the Roman government as well as the Amalek, Pharisee, and scribe sect of the Sanhedrin, they felt that he was talking about destroying the physical temple that they was going to utilize for Satan to build the construct again. Read.
St. John 2:19. Yeshua answered and said unto them, destroy this temple, and in 3 days will I raise it up.
Come on.
Then said the Jews, 46 years was this temple building.
46 years was this temple building. Read.
And wilt thou rear it up in 3 days?
Will you destroy this in what? 3 days? Read.
But he spake of the temple of his body.
But he spake of the temple of his body. The temple of his body. Now, I'm breaking this down, folks. Acts 7 and 48 real quick. To have you understand, folks, the significance of our brain and why they're focusing on our brains. Because within our temple is a brain that connects with the Almighty. So there's many ways of them disrupting the signal by causing dysfunction, by promoting sin, by separating families, anything to get us off of that connection. Even them talking about intersexuality and all these things, folks. It's all about just getting people off tilter. They don't really care about none of that crap, more so than disconnecting us from the signal while they build the tower. If they can disconnect you, then they can use you like what? Like Nimrod used the sons of Noah at the Tower of Babel.
The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited.